So we have a fantastic implementation case study on smart cities. It's actually one of the best examples of implementation in India from a smart city perspective. And it was news to me as I was talking to Srini Chebbi, who's the speaker here. He's a vice president at Schneider Electric. And Schneider has taken this unique position to also be the implementation company, because normally, most of the multinational corporations are generally enablers or providers of technology. But here is an organization that wanted to dirty their hands as well, and this is across the corporation. So, without much ado, I'd like Srini to come over and share the experience and the journey and the challenges that they faced in implementing this solution at Puri, at the Rath Yatra. All right? So, welcome, Srini.
Thank you. So I have a... So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this is clear, even though we have some bit of an overlap. First of all, thank you, the organizers and Venki, for this opportunity to share the amazing experience and the journey we had in realizing the true benefits and an outcome of the Internet of Things. You will realize during the next 20 minutes or so, which I have, that Internet of Things is what Internet of Things does. Because it's not a theory or a hypothesis, it's not about a device or a sensor, it's not about a software or analytics. I think it's all about what is that you are trying to do, what is that you are trying to solve, what is the outcome you are delivering, which is dramatically different than what it was before, the situation, the situation. So, well, I'm sure you know about this, that we are we are a large country with multiple religions. Some of the numbers can be quite mind-numbing. This is what it is. We have got, as a part of our great culture and religion, every year we have got many congregations that happen. They happen in every religion. They happen in most of the key cities. And invariably you will see that these are the very weak points, and quite often these are also, is it okay? These are also the places where quite often huge and challenging, where everyone is struggling to solve. The citizens, the authorities, the government, the people. Eventually what happens is that the people who come for this congregation with religious belief, they are exposed to severe threat, risk of life, and then it becomes something where if you go and then come back alive, that itself is the show of whether your karmas are good or bad, etc., etc. So basically this is the kind of thing. And then when you look at it, the major, each of these congregation poses a major challenge. First of all, you cannot stop a Kumbh Mela, because every year there are so many thousands of, every time it happens, there are so many thousands of people die. You cannot stop it, because this is a part and parcel of our life. This is a part and parcel of our belief and our cultural system, our religious system. So you cannot stop it. At the same time, there is no way that we can dramatically transform all the infrastructure. There are a lot of infrastructural issues. None of the cities which host these large congregations have roads which are made for that, have got anything else which are made for that. So the infrastructure is what it is. It is just that the people have been increasing. What was 1 million people, now it is 2 million people, there are 3 billion people. But the roads have remained same. Maybe it has gone wider by 10 feet. Nothing dramatic has happened over there. On top of that, you have got a systemic constraints, right? You have got infrastructure, the law and order situation. There are no places where you can have a delta of police force which is more than 20-30%. Linear variation or linearly changing anything will not solve the problem. It is a big issue today in most of these places. And then on top of that, there is natural resistance, because we have been running these congregations in certain way, in certain fashion. And in each of our practices and then beliefs behavior is deep-rooted with the religious behavior. So there is no way that you can change something. You can't say that, hey guys, by the way, you know what? You cannot be going in the morning during the Aarti time. We will only let certain number of people go during the Aarti time and the rest of them have to come in the evening. You can't say that because that's the time where everybody wants to go. So I think these are some of the issues which are a big challenge. It doesn't work? Okay. So when you look at some of the data, it's pretty mind-numbing. This is, of course, the official published data, right? And I presume it's much more devastating than that. I mean, just look at the kind of number of people who got missed during the life-to-date Kumbh Melas. There are about 300,000 people. I'm sure you know in fact, quite often every third Bollywood movie once upon a time used to be made on this theme that the people get lost in the Kumbh Mela. So what I'm saying is that every time there has been a congregation, and you've seen the number of congregations that happen, it's always a risk of life. And while we say that, this is another issue. 80% of the stampede and related deaths related to stampede have happened because or during these large religious congregations. So any religious congregation, anything that happens where a lot of people congregate in a place in India is a cause for catastrophe, which poses a huge problem where today we are not able to deal with. Now this is a problem. This is a problem. Now you may be wondering that what is Internet of Things got to do with this? I mean, this is the test of the Internet of Things. You want to solve something, you got a smart sensor, you have a software which does 1, 2, 3 and jumps XYZ and predicts PQR. Please stop this. In fact, this is the challenge for the Internet of Things. In fact, there is one such challenge which I will be talking about. And every time a disaster has happened during one of the congregation, there has been always very intelligent, articulate, multiple language explanations about how did this happen. There can always be a structural failure of something. There will always be a fire and electricity cause something. I'm sure you just Google and then you will find there is a very, very good, clear, acceptable, logical explanation for why a catastrophe has happened. What is interesting is every time there is something like that has happened, there is always explanation pointing out to one or the other failing. And quite often the explanations are also so intelligent that they don't repeat it. Every time there is a new one. But the interesting part of this problem is that while the reasons can be multiple, the solution need not be multiple. That's where the Internet of Things starts to play its potential role. You can have multiple things, but the solution can be unique, right? So the case in point, I mean, I'm sharing with you one such example of a place called Puri. I'm sure some of you, most of you might know. It's one of those holy places, one of the sacred Char Dhams. And then, I mean, if you're gone, if you go, you would be amazed to see. It's just a place of 200,000 people, and 80% of the economy is the temple economy. It's 200,000 people. There is this 200 feet wide, 9-kilometer stretch, left and then right. Everybody does their business, with the shops and then everything. And then there are X number of processions that happen every year. And then the biggest one is this, what is called as the Nabbakalebara. The Nabbakalebara is a festival during which the deities, the three deities, they change their kalebara, and then it's about 9-kilometer stretch. There is a procession which happens over a period of number of days. A city which is meant, city, town, whatever you call, which is meant for hosting 200,000 people, power infrastructure, road infrastructure, police, management system, etc., has to deal with millions of people. Millions of people. The previous one, when it happened in 2005, there were 2 million people in that city. And 2015, when it was happening, there was a forecast of 4 million people which were to come. Eventually, there were 5 million people who came. All right? So everything is a big challenge over there. And in fact, the number of hotels, the number of cars which are coming in. Can you imagine the number of cars coming in? Mind-numbing number of cars. Which means, how do you know who is in which car, what is happening inside the car? 5 million people are coming in. Who are they? What are they doing? Who certifies everybody is coming for darshan and a religious reason? Can you imagine? It's a nightmare of a situation. So we had this coming up in 2015 in the month of July, and it doesn't seem to move. Or you want me to signal you so that you can move the slide? Guys at the back, control room. All right. So you will move for me or this will work? This will work? Okay. If it doesn't work, I do this, you please move it for me. Done. Thank you. So when we were contacted by the government, in fact, it was a challenge which was considered for the administration of the city of Puri, Orissa state government, and for the chief minister himself. And when they contacted us and then said that, can you do something about it? We have heard that you got technologies because we have done similar, the smart cities and then et cetera, in Barcelona, in another country, in Middle East, in East, Southeast Asia. Can you do something about it? Because it's not about smart city. It's not about keeping lights on. It's not about automatically switching on certain things. It is about solving a problem. We are not talking about a comfort or making things look nice and good. It is about stopping lives being lost. It is about helping the administration solve a problem which we have never been able to solve for several decades. So this was what they came back, because there are multiple stakeholders. There are these people who manage the temple. There are these pandas who are the people who manage the temple offerings, religious, right? That you need to have a system which is compatible with what they do. Then the police and the street and the shop and the cars and the vehicles and the VIPs. For these type of things, you got all the celebrities coming in and probably prime ministers of different small religious, affiliated countries come in. It's a big challenge. This is what they said. Can you create an integrated system which is going to manage everything without creating, a big disturbance in the system? So what was the challenge? In fact, we had just about 75, 80 days, because I talked about the government machinery and the challenge, right? So the government machinery and the challenge, because even though it was known that it's going to happen a couple of years before, somehow for various reasons it was not happening. So when the final call came to us from the minister's office, it was just about 75 days. Summer, if you have gone there, you will realize that you cannot wear shoes and go inside the temple. You have to implement this solution. You cannot dig and then lay wire in 75 days across the city of Puri. You need wireless connectivity. You need things which can be installed quickly, things which are going to be smart and more powerful, so that you don't have too many of them put across all the places. Install them at a temperature of 45 degrees, and the floor is another 3-4 degrees more. It is being heated at that temperature, and you don't have to wear shoes, and you have to go inside and then walk, and you have to work 24 hours a day without anything, and then that's going to be 75 days. And on top of that, you've got a big monkey menace inside. There are the monkeys of the size of 2 human beings who can lift 2 or 3 of them easily. So any sensor, any camera, anything you put there has to be this proof, not Wandle proof. This is what it is. IoT is not those smart sensors and software and keyboard and then nice talk with this. It's not that. That's what I learned, at least I have to share with you. It is about making it do all of that. So when we started the job and then we ended up finishing it, so what we realized was that we had certain technologies within Schneider Electric, and then we didn't have certain technologies within Schneider Electric. So first of all, we had to let go this me, mine, I, and this is how we do. I had to first of all decide that I am going to be doing something which is of a much more higher purpose. I want to do something which is going to save lives. I want to make something which can be a benchmark and something which people can say, this is what this so-called IoT can do. For that, I had to say, guys, please help me. So we had to go for certain technologies to Israel, for certain technologies to Germany, for certain technologies to United States, and certain technologies to France, work with teams, work with different people, etc., etc. So we had to do all of these things. We had to create basically an integrated system, and all of that had to be done on premise. It can't be said that, oh, by the way, I have got something. We also have that in the cloud, by the way. But when you do it on the cloud, there are certain things which you can't do. A security of this nature, they will not let you do that. right? We are talking about number plate recognition system. You are talking about a bag which is left on the way, which is not picked up. You got to sense that. Having sensed that, you need to find out who the hell left that bag over there, and then track that guy's GPS number and find out where is he, and alert the nearest PCR van and ask him to stop that chap, and instantly find out which flight he landed, connect with the air. Can you imagine this? This needs to be done. So you got to build a data center. You got to build a complete network over there. And you got to build an intelligent analytics, crowd management analytics, traffic management analytics. You got to recognize the number plates. You need to have a number plate recognition system. Which car came? Track that. Track the number plate. And who came out and made one call from that? These are the kind of security things which need to be done. So we had to build this complete system. So what did we do? We embraced a lot of companies and technologies who could help us to do that. And then we had to build all of that into our integrated system. I need help. Okay? So we had to build this. So this is what we did. We implemented all the connectable devices, sensors, and then everything at the base. The cameras, the crowd, the people counters, and then the crowd sensing elements, and then make the mobile vans GPS tracked, get those doctors who are moving around connected onto the system, and then put the ruggedized interfaces with the PCRs, etc. So even if there is someone who is fainting, the system has intelligence to recognize that. It recognizes the pattern in the crowd. It recognizes and then tells you the coordinates of that one, and then connects the nearest doctor, and then connects the nearest ambulance, clears the road so that this person who is suffering can be lifted and quickly taken to the ambulance, and then he is taken care. If you don't, because you have to manage the crowd, you have to manage the physical threat, you have to manage the security threats, you have to manage all kinds of miscreants there. Not only just that, you should be able to quickly go back and then catch them in case it needs to be done, because this is something which is a security management system. So we have to build all of that. So we worked with a lot of them. We created an on-premise edge control platform. We built a data center over there, and then we created a wireless network completely. We installed all of those hundreds of cameras and hundreds of sensors, etc. We built all of the mobile vans on the GPS and connected them through ruggedized interfaces so that then the police had to be trained. Then we had to help the state government appoint a commander-in-chief who is going to be an officer on special duty with his team sitting inside the control room. Then we had to build 3 control rooms, and all of that in 75 days. Okay, so this was IoT for us, and we had to do that. And of course, we built a pretty unique thing there, 3 command control centers and live streaming feeds, analytics software, and large video walls, police trained, commanders trained, doctors in place connected, ambulances connected, traffic management system connected, intelligent analytics, closes certain roads, opens certain roads, etc. And all of that had to be designed along with the stakeholders. So we had to get some people from the society onto the solution architecting platform, because we had the chief Panda who helped us to architect the solution. Because he told us that, look, this corner on this street is always the most favorite place where the miscreants in the city are already congregating, creating trouble. आप ऐसा करो, ये कैमरा जो है ये 360 डिग्री वाला रखो, ताकि any given point in time you are able to capture what is going on over there. So we had to build a solution platform by taking all the, so what is important is to get all the stakeholders on co-creation platform. So unless until you are ready to do this, you cannot implement it. So we had to build this up, and then of course, quite a nail-biting finish. I went there on that day, final day as well, to see how does it. We took the dry runs. It worked pretty well, and then it was done. So what did we achieve with all that? So you will see that it's a nice thing. It's a purpose-built building. This is a central command control room. There are 3 more rooms in the city which have been built. Live feeds coming in, data, and then you have got lots of analytics which tells you basically where crowd is gathering, where you need to close. If you see, this is a 9-kilometer stretch, and then there are many roads which come and then join. You'll have to close selectively, open selectively roads, let cars control the main highway from where the vehicles are coming. So all of that is done by this system, all right? And all these things are connected. And number plate recognition system, right? It captures the number plate and the guys who are inside, if you're using a phone, what did you do in the last 2 days? Everything is done by this system. So some visibility for you there. And there's a data center which we built, by the way. I don't have it, but I can show you. So it was such a nice dream. The day on which I went, I can tell you, most unlikeliest of the people were congratulating me. The guy who runs a shop on the street, वो बोलता है साहब आपने तो ये तो कमाल ही कर दिया. हमारा दुकान पे लोग आते हैं डरते नहीं हैं अभी हमारा बिजनेस ठीक ठाक है. The Panda comes and gives me a hug, the chief Panda, and says that this is wonderful. There was the biggest resistance coming from them, in fact, because they said, you are going to put cameras and watch what we are doing. They said, wow, this is what you have done. People are queuing up, everything is happening smooth and nice. So this was basically because we all sat together and then co-created, along with our partners. And we also built a self-healing power grid for Puri. Because quite often in our country, this is something which always fails when you don't want it to fail. So we built a self-healing grid, which means any fault happens, it doesn't just shut down the power. It ensures power continuity while it gives you enough pre-warning and room to respond, keeping in all the vagaries of the Indian infrastructure. Traffic, gaadi chalu nahi hua, wo nahi hai. You have got 3 hours. At least in 3 hours or 4 hours, you need to come to the place, replace the circuit breaker, put a new one, isolate the fault, etc., etc. It's a self-healing grid. So all the time the power is on. Okay. So at the end of the day, it was quite satisfying. I think I was wondering, I was asking my team, there are quite a number of them, I said, what made you to do this? To stand in that heat and then do, they said, humko jaan bachana tha. So I think IoT succeeds when you have a higher purpose. That's another learning and takeaway for me at that point in time. So we had not even a single casualty of 5 million people for those days. Not one. Not even one. Of course, then these things always follow. It's not a big thing, but the biggest trophy for us is that all those hugs and cheers when they said that this ran, and then there was nobody who lost life. And this is exactly what we wanted to achieve, and this is what we achieved. It's not done by us or Schneider Electric. Schneider Electric is a large company. We are about 30 billion euro, 170,000 plus people. In India, we are 22,000 people. A lot of smart people, a lot of pride we take in what we do. But beyond that, when we went and then we hugged and embraced all those partners from all the countries in India, outside, and we did this, and we all saved lives. So this is what we did. So what made us, in summary, to do that? So this is what we believe. We call this as our 5 mantras. This helps us to build, implement, and deliver the IoT. I can talk to you about each sensor, wavelength, connectivity, network for days and weeks, but that's all meaningless if we are not able to save lives in this case. That was my experience. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Just one question. Okay. Yeah.
It's great to hear such a wonderful experience that you've delivered for the people. One question I did have is, can you cite some examples of things that you have probably prevented from it happening, because there's no incident that has occurred in this whole event? And
Make out.
Can't hear?
I can't make out the noise.
I think you should come forward.
Yeah, if you could please. Sorry for this, but yeah. Okay. Well, the question is that I said there is not even one incident happened, but did you catch any incident and stop it? Of course, plenty of them. There are some things which I can reveal, some things which I cannot reveal. In a 5 million congregation, this was they call it high impact target. I learned many of those words, by the way, I didn't know that. This was a high value target. Puri was a high value target. A lot of trouble characters, we could stop them before they could even think about it, probably, because they were either in groups, or they were doing some suspicious activities, or they were some kind of stuff. That's number one. And then a lot of people, what happens is that on this stretch of a few kilometers, when you are congregating in those 5 million numbers, the oxygen is not enough for everybody to breathe. Quite often people are fainting and they just collapse. Now there were a lot of people who were, you can see when you are analyzing that, there are certain patterns which emerge on the screen. There are suddenly people and, they group and then somebody is collapsing. So you are able to locate that. A lot of people, I think at least few hundred people who were quickly detected that was happening and then moved to the nearest ambulance. Road was cleared, the ambulance came in, the nearest doctor gave them some first aid and medical, because there were a lot of doctors. We had also asked a lot of doctors to register and say, just like in the aircraft, they say, right, who is the doctor, please write. So there were a lot of doctors and their mobile numbers were connected because there was a dial 100. And the moment there is somebody, for example, everybody was communicated well in advance. Next to you there is somebody falling, you just dial 100, instantly you are picked up with the GPS. So a lot of that we saved.
Brilliant. Okay, so guys, this is what happens if you're real, right? We're not building toys like what they said yesterday. This is all real stuff.
Absolutely.
So we request all startups to kind of, see how you can kind of work with people like Schneider to kind of be part of their entire, story. Okay. So Ashwini, can you come? Ashwini is the vice chair of
Hi, Ashwini.
Interesting presentation.
Thank you, Ashwini. Hey, thanks, Srini. Thank you. Brilliant piece of work.